I just want to thank everybody for coming onto the Zoom today. Annie and I will be holding these Zooms live each week at 12:30 on Wednesday. Next week, we will actually be covering a little bit of mortgage stuff. We'll be covering, what are we covering next week? Freddie Mac's programs moving forward with what's going on right now. Mm-hmm. So we'll have some guest speakers and stuff covering different programs that are now available out there. And then this week, we're going to be covering the difference between, say, a escrow net sheet or a title net sheet, both seller or buyer, and how that differs or is the same as the CD or the closing disclosure that comes out from the lender at the end. So, you know, with that, I guess we'll just start with this. There's a handful of things that when you reach out to escrow or you reach out to, say, like myself with title or what have you, and you're requesting a net sheet, there are a couple basic things that we need to be able to compile that net sheet, right? We need, say for a seller's net sheet, we need the sales price. We need an estimated payoff. We need the commissions for both sides. We need, are you offering a home warranty? Are you doing a termite inspection? You know, there are a lot of different basic things that we need to be able to compile that net sheet for you. When the closing disclosure comes out, it comes out at the end, and it basically encompasses all the fees and everything combined to show you what the net is on both sides. And so we get questions a lot of like, hey, why did this differ from the CD slightly? Or is it the same or is it different? When you give the net sheet, how accurate is that? These are kind of some of the questions we get from agents ongoing. Annie, would you agree? I mean, like, what kind of questions are you getting?
Well, for me, the buyers and the buyer's agents, the selling agent, they are constantly having an issue because, you know, our closing statement's 1-2 pages long. Closing disclosure of the CD is actually 5 to 7 pages long. So it has a lot more information. And I just wanted to show everybody, I've got some samples that we're going to go through, but I want to show you the numbers are the same. Sometimes the way that it's named, like the particular name for the item is the same. Other times they're different. I want to show you some of those differences. And so I put together some samples that we'll go over. Tommy, did you want to finish up anything, or I'll just go ahead and get started if you can put the papers up.
Well, I want to open it real quick just for some discussion and you guys can just pipe in, raise your hand, you know, speak up, unmute yourself. But ultimately do you have specific questions? And if you can just briefly give us what those are, that way, hopefully we can answer them through the presentation. You know, do you come across questions that you have when you say you get a net sheet from escrow or title or questions you get from your buyers or sellers pertaining to the CD towards the close of that transaction?
They probably can't think of anything right now. Trust me, they will though while we're going through the document. They'll be like, oh yeah, now I have a question. Right. Keep in mind, this is a, you know, very informal. So ask me anything as we're going along.
Right. And there's a chat feature down at the bottom of the screen there. You can click on chat and just put in any questions that you have, and we'll kind of answer them ongoing through the presentation. So Annie, I will go ahead and bring up those files. My question is which one you want?
Well, I want to start with the buyer's estimate. Can you put 2 up at a time or no? Because we'll need to go from the buyer's estimate to the CD for the lender.
Okay. All right, let me.
That's how I want to start.
Let me share my screen here. Okay.
All right, that's the sellers. Do you have the buyers?
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so first of all, this should look really familiar to everybody. You guys pretty much ask Tommy or I for these on a regular basis, except for that it's the seller side. They look exactly the same. The difference is the amounts, and the name at the top says buyer borrower, or the other one says seller. The form is so easy with this form because it's a straight debit credit. So all you do is you just go through it, and you can see all the debits or all the charges that are being charged to the buyer. And of course, all the credits are on the right side. That makes it real easy to read. What I want to show you is the CD. Now, the CD for the lender, can you click that up? It says CD lender. Okay, so this is the closing disclosure, or the CD, that every buyer gets when there's a loan. I should say a regular loan. A hard money loan, they don't have to use these. But this is required on every basic institutional loan. What I did was in red, you'll see those little red numbers, 1, 19, down a little further is 33. These coincide with numbers that are on our closing or our settlement statement, our estimated statement. So you can see that the numbers are all there. I'm going to just go through a couple of the basics, which of course number 1 is on that first page, and that of course is the sales price. Tommy, can you just go back to the top there? Yeah, so number 1, see in real small, sales price. I actually have many agents say, well, there's no sales price on there. That's because they keep it up in that real tiny spot right there where it says sales price, and that's where it's going to be on every closing disclosure. So it is on there. And then it always has the loan amount. Now, we do not on our estimates put in interest rate, payments. We don't put any particulars about the loan. We're only going to put the basic information, the fees, the sales price, the loan amounts, things like that. But we're not going to put anything particular about the actual loan itself. And I'm sure most of you as agents will say you can't answer any of the questions on the closing disclosure about the loan. They need to get a hold of their loan officer. So that's why I put these numbers on here. If they ask you any of these other questions, you refer them to their loan officer. But these basic things, sales price, loan amount, go down at the bottom of this page and it'll say net proceeds. This is the amount they need to wire into us. Go back up, right there. 99,444.67. That's cash to close 33,000, or number 33, and it's 99,444.67. Tommy, can you beep back real quick to the buyer's estimate?
Yep.
I want to show you that same figure. Now go to the bottom of this. Due from buyer borrower, 99,444.67. That should balance every time. Okay, so that's the figure they have to send into us. Now, go back up to this top of the buyer's estimate again. And if you'll note, escrow puts these things in categories. So it starts off with prorations and adjustments. Prorations and adjustments are all prorations and adjustments, meaning anything that's being prorated between the seller and the buyer. So that would be property tax, HOA would be in there, rents, security deposits, anything that's prorated, it's going to be in that area. Any credits, seller credit will be in that area. Okay. Now go back to this CD for the lender. Let's see if we can find number 3 and 4 on the CD. Let's go down a little bit farther. Should be right here. Okay. So on the closing disclosure, it's on page 3, and that's where they have their adjustments. So right here it says the tax prorations, number 3, 108,335. That's the same figure as the other one. Now I want you to go down just a little bit. Do you guys see any credits in there? See where it says seller credit? Do you see any credits? You don't. And that is because this lender, okay, Tommy, go back up. I want to show you to the second page. This lender required the seller, instead of just doing a straight credit, they required it to show on the seller side. So go back up to the top. I want to show you. See all of the fees? See where the little X's are? That is, all those X's total $9,800 credit. I wanted you to see that even though this particular thing does not have the seller's credit the way it's supposed to. Now this is, you will get questioned on this every single time, because the buyer's going to say, well, I don't understand, where's my credit? Why isn't my credit showing on this closing disclosure? Escrow has it on theirs, and it's because the lender required it to be charged to the seller. All of those fees, go down to the bottom of this page, Tommy. I wrote on there, all those fees, up to the page, up, right there. See where it says X equals 9,800 seller credit.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that that's how this particular lender required the closing disclosure to read. Doesn't matter that they're different. Okay, it doesn't matter that ours is straight credit and theirs showed. This was accepted and approved by this lender, and we've had every other lender do the same thing. It's just for their particular type of transaction, they required it to show that way.
Right, they wanted it itemized.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was real important. I wanted to show you that part of it. All right, let's go back up to that second page here. And you'll see that we have in here processing fees, tax service, all of these fees are basic. In the CD, they have title. I want you to see this too. Title and escrow are all in one category. We're considered to be in their section B. All of the title and escrow fees are going to be in that section. Okay, if it runs over, which it did in this case, I want you to go back down to the bottom of this same page, Tommy. And it just comes down here. You see where title owners is, oh, go back up. A little bit more right there. You see on H other where it says title owner policy optional. They ran out of room up at the top, so it just flows down to the other section. That's the title policy. Any questions about that? Okay, so that's the only reason that it's in this category, it's just because they ran out of room. I want to go back up to the title section again. Tommy, on this page, just go back up a little bit. Okay, so in here, I want to show you these fees are pretty basic. So they've got appraisal, credit report, endorsements, archive fee. Okay, so you see how it says archive fee to grant it. Okay, and it shows, well, it's split, but that total is right there, $75. Tommy, can you go back to the buyer's estimate? I want to show them that that's not what we call it, but it doesn't matter. As far as they're concerned, it's the same. In our fee, if you'll look at number 14, it says technology e-storage fee. Okay, so they may call it a different name. It's still the same fee. Again, you're going to have the buyers question you on this. They have a particular way of calling the item. Doesn't matter, it's still the same. They may call a messenger fee an overnight fee. Still the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
As long as the numbers match. Okay. All right, so that's title and escrow. Let's go back to the CD again. Okay, so now this was a CD that I wanted to show you where everything comes out the same. They've got insurance in here, the interest, prepaid interest, taxes, of course, are paid by the seller. The proration or the impounds, that's G. That's what the escrow payment is also called, the impound account or the escrow account. That's for insurance, mortgage insurance, and property taxes. Let me show you where those are, those particular fees on my buyer's estimate. So you can see that they're all there and they're the same. Okay, see where it says lender charges? So we start off right here with your impound accounts, county tax reserves and homeowners insurance reserves. So reserves to us is like an impound account. And then you've also got your prepaid interest. Does anybody have any questions on what prepaid interest is? Everybody good? I don't see any notes, so we're good. Okay, those numbers are matching the other side. Origination fees, processing, appraisal, all of those are just the standard lender fees. And I put one in as miscellaneous charge because on the lenders, go back to the CD for that miscellaneous charge. Let's see, go back up to where their lenders charges are. Whoop, stop, go back down. A little bit more, down towards the bottom. Stop. Okay, see where it says lender credits, $255.70.
What number is that?
down at the very bottom, it's number 27 in the red.
Okay, here.
Yep. So that particular charge is a credit from the lender. And so we don't have a lender credit per se. So we have a miscellaneous charge. So in other words, if there's a fee that we don't have in our system, then we can just call it a miscellaneous charge. Again, you saw that they did not have an issue with us charging it miscellaneous versus what they show.
Right.
Okay. All right. And by the way, this lender approved all of this. So I mean, I wanted to show you, and this is a big lender. I had to cross all their names off, but I will tell you it's one of the top 5. So it's a biggie. Okay, so that's all the fees. I kind of compared those a little bit. Let's go back down to the next page. This is the tough page. All right. These numbers do not match the estimate. So this is going to be where you get your questions asked 90% of the time. The reason they don't match, and I tried to put a little note here. So this figure on number 34, Tommy, can you show them 34 on my buyer's estimate real quick so they can see what that figure comes from? Okay, so 34 down at the bottom is basically always when you're doing accounting, debits and credits should balance, right? And in this case, the balancing number is the 505,072.37. All the debits, all the credits, those two should be the same. You see that? This is at the bottom, 34.
Yep,
So
right
they
down here.
balance. Okay, now go back to the CD lender. Let me show them why they don't balance. This is why they ask questions all the time, because the 34 number that the CD shows, it never shows the credits. So the only time it's going to balance is if you have no credits. But if you have a seller credit or you have a lender credit, it does not pick those numbers up, which is why that number doesn't match what's on our estimate. I hope that makes sense to everybody. That way, I'm trying to show you. So now if anybody asks you, you can just say, oh, it doesn't include the credits. Any credits, buyer, lender, seller, whatever, there's an agent. If there's a credit, it's not going to be in that number. The same thing with number 32, where it's just a little bit below that. See that number down there, 394,572? Tommy, go to my CD. I mean, my estimate. 32, the number's going to be off by the credits. So it's always going to be off by the credits, those two numbers. That's why they don't balance. No matter what, though, the number 33, which tells the buyer how much money they need to bring in, that should always balance. That should always be the 99,444.67, like in this case, 99,4. Throughout the whole, no matter what, from the buyer's estimate to the CD from the lender, though that figure should be the same. Okay.
Which it is right here is 33,
Yep.
99,44.67, and 33 here, 99,44.67.
Right. Okay, so this was a lender CD. I wanted to show you that. Now I did a CD from our company, that Tony, just to the left, go to CD. To the left, that's sellers. Go to the one to the left. The other way, your other left. There you go.
The buyer one?
Over one. There's one right there. There.
I gotcha.
Okay, so this is a CD from Escrow. So that I could show you, go to the second page. The only difference is the second page on this one. So this one, oh, I didn't make it different. I didn't, oh, my bad. I did not change it. I was going to change it so that it was a straight $9,800 credit for you, but you know what? I couldn't get it to change because it all, once it's in there, it wouldn't let me change it back.
That's fine.
Sorry, that was the only difference, is I was going to show you there was a credit in here. But anyway, when you put the credit in, if you put the $9,800 credit in here, those numbers still are off. Those 32 and 34, go to page 3 again. With the credit, these numbers are still off by the credits. That's what I was trying to show, is they still don't balance.
Okay.
Okay, they never will be the same if there's credits.
And that question comes up all the time.
All the time. Every single loan sign up that we're doing, and we're showing them, here's this and here's this. There's a, why don't these balance?
Yeah, or where's the credit? This doesn't show I'm getting a credit type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And that's always what they're looking for.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, so go to the CD for the seller, and then we'll look at the CD, the seller's estimate. Now, the CD for the seller, the reason you won't get questions on this is because we don't send this out until the end. So they don't usually see it until we're closing. The only thing we send them 90% of the time is the seller's estimate. So it's easy for them to read. But I just wanted to show you that these numbers are the same. So those fees are all in there. Escrow, title, you've got the title. Remember, title and escrow are always on the CD, they're always together. Well, I also wanted to point out, go back up, Tommy. I wanted to point out this particular lender, and I want to say about 75% of them, they will put either they'll put granted escrow, or they may put California title for all the fees. So even my fees will say California title, or in this case, they did granted escrow. So even all the title fees were granted escrow. It doesn't matter to us how they need to show it. So if they want it to be all title, or if they want it to be all escrow, that's okay. But keep in mind, on your estimate from escrow, it will spell out whose fee is from title and who's from escrow.
And I've also gotten questions when a lender sends out, say, an LE, right, a loan estimate at the beginning, and on that loan estimate for title or escrow, some random company is listed there because that's who's in their
system automatically.
Yeah, that's who's in their system automatically, just saved in there. And I get questions like, I'll get a call and be like, why is my lender not using you? Or why is this? Or why is that? And, you know, it's just, they don't take the time to go in and change the names on them. And they didn't save their templates to just say title or escrow. It actually has a name in there. And it's, you know, it may be who they do the most business with at that given time. But that doesn't dictate, you know, who's being used. And the loan estimate, you know, is just that, it's an estimate. So do you want to compare this to your seller estimate here?
Yeah, I just wanted to show. So what I did was to help out as I put letters for the sellers and then numbers for the buyers to kind of show them these are all sellers fees. Remember, this is standard. It always is negotiable, but standard, these are the sellers fees. And so it's got the commission, which is on the top here. Of course, you always have your prorations and credits. That's first, then commission, then title and escrow together. But as you can see, they're separated, title charges versus escrow charges. Okay, and then you come down to the payoff. And now in the lender page, I mean, you know, in the CD seller one, go to the CD seller. I want you to see that how they did it. They don't have a total. Go to page, I think it's page 3. I'm going off memory, but go to page 3. I think it's down there. Okay, yeah, this is it. Okay, so see right here, they don't actually show a total. All they do is show a breakdown of each of the fees, but there's no total for the payoffs on the CD because they don't care about that. What they want to see is what did they get paid, the breakdown of everything. So you can see the lender's requirements versus what escrow furnishes to your seller are completely different. And then you have all your additional disbursements. And I wanted to show you in this particular one, we had repairs for plumbing, floor, kitchen, roof, all kinds of stuff. So you can see all these fees. I've lettered them L, M, N, O, P, Q. Go back to the CD, you can see where they are. They're all over the place. For them, they don't put them in one spot. So there's a couple here. You'll see Q is there. There's a few here. Floor, see N is there. On the top is all the escrow and title. But even here, if you see where M is, go back up. This was really strange. So see up here, M, the transaction coordinator fee, it's on page 1. It's not even in a general, like other expenses. Correct. So it's up, like the transaction fee, coordinator fee is up with the payoff. Okay, go back down. And then you'll see you have escrow title, that's pretty basic. Recording fees. Oh, here we go, other. So you can see all these are broken down. And they lump everything together. So commissions are in with other, basically, all the extra fees, other.
Mhm.
Okay. And then these are all miscellaneous fees too.
Right.
So they're just anywhere they can fit them.
Yeah, I mean, all the same information pertains to
Everything.
both, is in both. It's just the seller's estimate or the buyer's estimate from escrow is just much easier to obviously read,
Right.
right?
Right,
It's
exactly.
very cut dry, easy to read, and ultimately the numbers come out to the same.
Oh,
And
they should always be the same.
well,
The only time they're
it's
not,
not, right? The only
well, the
time it's
only
not is at the
time they're
very
not the
beginning.
same. Well, Tommy, the only time they're not the same is there are some lenders that will allow us to go ahead and sign loan docs with the CD not balancing, and this is rare. There's probably only about 15 to 20% of the lenders, but they'll allow us to sign loan docs even though the estimate and the CD don't balance, because what they do is they balance at funding. And balance at funding versus loan docs just means just go ahead and have them sign it, and then when we fund the loan, we'll send you a new CD that will balance to your closing statement exactly. So they will actually give us a new CD, and then we have to do a new estimate. And about 2% of them require that to be signed. The rest of them are all like, nah, whatever. It's just, here's your paperwork, just put it in your file.
Right, right. No, I think the point I was trying to make for everybody to kind of, so everybody fully understands this, is if you have Annie or myself do a pre-net sheet or a net sheet for you before, at the beginning, say at the very beginning, before, you know, the transaction starts or right when it starts, it's going to differ a little because we don't have the exact payoffs yet. We don't have the demands back, right? So Annie doesn't have the demands back to be able to give you a 100% accurate payoff or things like that. So it could slightly change, but then once you have payoffs and everything, you update your net sheet, and then that should pretty much mimic the CD.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're right. The beginning ones that we do will never balance because
No,
it's
an estimate. It'll be within, you know, a couple $1,000s. And that's mainly because of the payoffs. You know, we're taking an estimated payoff from whatever information is given to us to put into the net sheet. And of course, that payoff is going to not be accurate. And it's usually going to be off within, you know, a couple $1,000s once we get the final demand payoff, right? Everything else is fairly close. Title fees are cut dry. Those are exact. Escrow fees are exact. You know, if you're only offering up to a certain amount on a home warranty, that's pretty accurate. Inspections are usually fairly close, like within dollars. You know, everything else is going to be very, very tight. It's really the demands for any payoffs that are going to be off until we get those back. So, you know, if we're doing a net sheet for you, again, in advance, just know that when you present it, it's going to be presented as this is an estimate until we have the exact payoff amounts. But it's going to be fairly close.
Well, unless you have a situation like this particular one, just so you know, you see all these repairs that were done on the property.
Mm-hmm.
They did have an estimate for repairs when we did the what I call the pre-estimate.
Yeah.
And we had 2,200 estimated in the repairs. It came in slightly off.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on, you know, what happens during the transaction, which we all know.
Sure. All right. So, Annie, do you have more to go over on these forms, or should we open it up?
No, I wanted to open it up because I think that once they look at these, and if they're going to have any questions, that's where I can help you out right now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So this is it. Now's your chance.
So fly the questions at us, and we'll see if, you know, we can get all your questions answered. Somebody did post in there, am I able to get these docs in a form that I can print so I can look at them more closely after the webinar? Absolutely. We will get those sent out, but I'm not certain exactly who requested that because it says your name is 19515. So reach out to Annie or myself and we'll get those to you. But any questions in regards to anything?
Miriam's got one.
Who does?
That's Miriam Cochran. Is that Miriam? That's 19515?
Could be.
Can you unmute her? There she is.
Yep. Oh, let's see.
Yep, she was asking
Yep.
about the printable. I think that's Miriam.
Yep, it is.
Okay, so yes, I'll go ahead and get that out.
Any questions? Betsy, do you have anything? Do you have questions that come to you quite frequently from buyers or sellers in regards to, say, a net sheet or a CD?
Pretty much what I see is there's a lot of people asking at that time when, about the fees. Usually from the seller estimate, I normally don't see the CD.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult to get a hold of some days. So I just principally go off the seller's estimate. And of course, everyone has questions about the fees and if they're negotiable, things like that. And that's pretty much it. Or because it's all separated, it just looks like it's fee after fee after fee after fee.
Right.
And, we know when that happened during the 2008 thing. So, it just, I think that's probably their biggest concern is they'll ask about that. And they usually find, any mistake or any error, they usually find it pretty quick.
Oh,
Mhm.
yes, they do. That's for sure. Just so you know, the fees are, I should say, okay, so the title fees are any fee that is what we call posted. And that means that it's been actually filed with the state. Those fees are non-negotiable. They cannot be changed. And I think that's pretty much your title fees and sub escrow, right, Tommy?
Correct. So any title fees with any title company or sub escrow fees, those are all filed fees with the state. And they can't be deviated from. Now, different title companies have different fee sheets, right? And what I mean by that is, we have different programs that we have filed with the state, i.e., I offer a military discount. I offer a senior citizen discount. I offer a first-time home buyer discount, and that's never purchased a home before. So true first-time home buyer, things like that. But all those fees are filed with the state, which gives me the ability to offer the discount. As far as negotiating a filed rate, that cannot be done, no. That's illegal.
Okay, that actually helps. I have one more question. I've seen in there that the escrow paid a TC fee to a TC.
Mm-hmm.
So this may be off topic. I don't know.
No, go ahead.
So it's my understanding that if escrow pays a TC fee, then the broker still has to issue the 1099 to the TC.
Well, that's not something that we actually get involved in. We kind of let your brokers handle that. But I will tell you that I think a lot of the brokers are having it paid to a corporation if they can versus a individual, and that might help them maybe.
The TC fee.
Right, the TC fee. So when they pay it, if they pay it to a corporation versus a like an individual name, then I think it helps them as far as what they have to file.
Right. Okay.
That makes sense, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also have a lot of my agents that will also just have me send a separate, I actually have about 5 brokers that have me write a check to the agency, the company, the broker's company for the TC fee. So in other words, they get 2 checks. They'll get one for the commission, and then they'll get another check for the TC fee. And then they must collect all of that and pay, the TC maybe weekly or something like that, because we actually write them 2 checks every time.
Okay. All right.
So I don't actually know why they do that, but I'm sure there's a reason, tax reason.
Yeah. Well. All right.
Any other questions?
Lauren, any questions? Rachel, Sherry?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Esther? Esther doesn't know how to get off of mute. All right, so yeah, again, we're gonna.
Esther has a question. Do recording fees change? Yes, they absolutely do. Recording fees can change up to the day of closing. So as soon as we don't actually we get estimates all the way through the transaction until the document gets recorded. That is when we get the actual recording fees. That's why everybody says, Well, we need it to be exact. We can't. The county will actually tell the title company on the day it's recorded. So they almost always change, even if it's just $1 or $2.
Correct. And these are not fees that we set or that we have general fee charts that we can go by. These are fees that are given back to us from county for actual recordings on that actual property. So, you know, therefore, we try and get as close as we can to being accurate, but it never.
I wanted to go over something real quick about that. I'm glad you asked that question. That's a really good question. I have people tell me all the time, why do you charge? Because we charge pretty much a set amount. We charge $50 for the grant deed and $126 for the deed of trust. The reason we charge that on every deal is because if the document goes to the county recorder's office, and let's say it's actually only going to come out to like $78, by the way, is a very common number that comes out of the county for that deed of trust.
Because it's based on how many documents.
Deed of trust,
Because the fee is based on per document, per page.
Document, exactly.
Right.
So let's say it's, everybody knows it's probably going to be 78 and I'm still charging 126. Why am I doing that? Very important reason why. Because if the document gets down to the county and the county feels that it's too light, the writing is off, there's something in the corner that doesn't look good, anything, it's too dark, it's anything, they could then pull that recording, tell us no, it's not acceptable, and the only way we can get it back on is one of two ways. One, have the deed of trust re-signed, or two, attach a blank deed of trust, a clean, unsigned deed of trust. Okay, so that means the pages are going to go up double, right? You're going to have another 10, 12, 20 pages, depending on how big that deed of trust is. The county then records the whole thing with the extra pages. And that's why we will see a bill come in for like 126. And we have no way of knowing if this is going to happen until that day.
And you need that cushion, because if you didn't have the cushion in there, then you're kind of screwed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So people don't understand that it's a light cushion to have, but there's so many reasons why a recording can get pulled. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason why it was pulled. We scratch our head at it and say, we don't understand why, but ultimately, for any reason, they can pull it, and you have to be prepared for that. And you need that little cushion, because otherwise you end up having to redraw out a CD and everything else to make sure that those fees work. Because you can't have a CD at one rate and then all of a sudden a fee be higher than it, right?
Right.
You can have the CD higher than what the actual fees are slightly, and you're okay, and then there's just a credit.
Right. And the buyer would get the money back at that point. But one other thing that just changed recently, I want to say maybe about a month ago, LA County, San Francisco, Oakland, a bunch of the counties have now changed. I don't know if you guys know, but those particular counties, they do not allow special recordings. Does everybody know what a special recording is?
LA stopped that over a year ago.
Yeah, but it's even worse now. Let me wait till I get done. So basically, a special recording means that we're going to be able to close a different time than just 8 in the morning. The normal recordings are 8 in the morning. A bunch of the counties, LA being one of them, have changed that to be 1 recording per day, no specials. You have to have it there by 8 o'clock, which means you have to have it there the night before. Now, they did one step further a month ago. Used to be that if you sent the documents down at 8 o'clock and they were getting recorded and they found an error, or they found that the document was too light or too dark, or they pulled it for whatever reason, they would give the title company time to correct it and get it back on to get it recorded. They have now stopped that. If that document gets pulled, you're done. You're not recording that day. You need to fix the document and it'll get recorded the next day. There are about 4 counties right now that have implemented that. And sadly, what we're worried about is we're going to get our common ones, which is Riverside, San Diego, and Orange County. If those guys do the same thing, that's going to be making people a day late in recordings every single time we turn around.
Yeah, LA was a pain up in even before the change, because before the change, as a title company, we wouldn't find out what our recording time was until 7 a.m. the morning of. And then LA County would send out an email to all title companies letting us know what our recording time was. So it could be 8 o'clock or it could be 4 p.m. for that day. And they didn't allow specials. So, you know, when you're trying to do a concurrent recording and you're hoping to get it back before noon so that you can record on another property and you get a time slot of 3 p.m. or 4 p.m., it's impossible. You know, especially if, you know, lender or what have you doesn't want a table fund or things like that. It was just impossible. And then finally they switched it back to, okay, well, we'll do it at 8 o'clock in the morning, but it's got to be there. If it's 8:05, sorry, we're not taking it.
Do you guys understand what he means by time slot? Yeah, everybody understands that? Because every title company, they get a time slot assigned to them every day.
Yeah.
So obviously you want the 8 o'clock one, but they rotate. So eventually you're
Random.
going to get the 3 and the 4 because they rotate, right, Tommy, every day?
Yeah, there's no rhyme of reason how they rotate it. It's like random, you know, and you don't know in advance. Like it would be one thing if they let us know like the morning before, right? At 8 a.m., your time slot for tomorrow will be X. Then gives you 24 hours to plan for it, but they don't. They tell you the morning of and say, here's your time slot. And, you know, for a while, I mean, with LA, that put such a damper on things. And then finally, people that are used to recording in LA County got used to the fact that things just aren't possible, you know, that you can do in other counties still.
So I wanted to let you guys know because of this LA, San Francisco, Oakland, and there's one other one that has escaped me for right now. But what we're doing is we're going to go ahead and send the documents. If we think the document's too light, too dark, if we look at those pages and everything looks okay, we're not going to worry about it. But if we as escrow and title think this could get pulled, we're going to send the extra copies automatically because we figure I'm sure the buyer would rather pay a few extra dollars, $10, $20, $30, than have it pulled and not be able to close till the next day.
Right, because it's like $7 a page or something like that.
Right.
And sometimes it's just better to be safe than sorry, because on the flip side, it puts a lot of people in bad situations sometimes. So, well, those are awesome questions. I don't see any more questions in the chat. Annie and I, like I said, are holding these once a week on Wednesday at 12:30. And the topics that we're picking are really feedback that we get from you guys. So, you know, if you guys have any suggestions of topics that we should cover, by all means, send them our way, because that's basically what we're doing is we're taking the feedback from you and building small little mini trainings around them to answer the questions that are needed. So any final thoughts, Annie?
No, but I did want to let you guys know that I do have a bunch of people asking for a 1031, you know, kind of talk. So I'm putting something together. I'll try to get that ready for the next couple of weeks and let everybody know when that's coming.
Yeah, I think maybe on the 13th, I think it is.
Okay, should be ready by then.
So 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Maybe we can try and do that one. We already have next week scheduled out. So, all right.
Let us know if you have any ideas.
One last thing that I'll leave everybody with is tomorrow, Thursday, every Thursday at 4 p.m., we have the Weekly Valley Pitch via Zoom. If you have any properties that you would like to pitch, we do broadcast that live on Facebook for exposure. Please send that to weeklyvalleypitch@gmail.com, and that would then get you or your property put into the presentation so that you could pitch it.
Tommy, did you see that question from Britt?
Can we look into creative options, i.e. seller financing, things like that?
You want me to talk about AITDs and stuff like that?
Britt, be on next week's call, and I'll make sure that we have some of that in there. Okay. All right, guys. Again, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week at 12:30. It's the same Zoom link each week. So, you know, if you don't get a copy of it or you don't see the invite or what have you, you can access it via the same link each week. All right. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Appreciate your time.
Bye.
That's awesome. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Anne. Thank you. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I was late. I
Oh, no, don't worry.
was on
Anytime.
another training. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
Okay.
take care.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Star. Bye, guys.
Bye.